I'll tell you when you hit record. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have this conversation with Dave Kittle also, but Jimmy, you
Yeah.
and I, before we hit record, we were talking about kind of the rollout process for bringing something new into a physical therapy clinic. I am bringing in Softwave, which is a shockwave therapy device. People are asking me, why did I choose Softwave? Why did I choose this? Like, you guys, anybody watching my media, you see that I've got the Biodex Rehab reactive step trainer in my clinic. You see that I talked to Doug Adams with Run DNA and I looked at his equipment. There's just all sorts of stuff. You're doing stuff with vestibular first.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're looking at this, but I don't want to leave people in the dark. You and I started talking about the implementation, and I think let's build in public. I know you love that.
I do.
And let's talk about this.
All
So
right.
yesterday, I'm driving in the car and I'm trying to think to myself, okay, what can I do with this soft wave shockwave device? Obviously I learned the protocols. I've seen all the reviews. I've looked at other therapists that are just blowing me away with, what they're doing using this. I did an onboarding call with Joey's team from Rehab CEOs. Totally blew me away. Like, really, really great experience. But I'm like, I need to monetize this. I'm freaking out a little bit because I'm buying a piece of equipment that I'm not familiar with. I need to learn how it works, but I also need to, my original goal was 100,000, and I started doing some numbers and I'm like, I think I could push 250,000 in a year if I do it right. So ask me some questions, because that'll help kind of me guide the conversation on how I'm rolling it out, why I'm choosing what I'm choosing.
Yeah. So who's this going to be used for? Like who's the perfect person that is going to walk in your door, see this, or you're going to see them or hear them and go, I've got the solution for you.
Perfect. I hate modalities. Let's start with that, right? So I'm like
Uh-oh.
the last person that should be buying a device like this. I don't use e-stim and ultrasound. I don't use ice or heat. I don't use any modalities in my clinic. But what I was doing was I was looking at, okay, who are the people I can't fix with exercise?
Okay.
I only want to fix people with exercise. I only want to fix people with education, but there is a growing community of people I can't fix with exercise and education. And so I was like, well, there's a modality that gives people one more chance. They're not surgical candidates. I've got patients right now in my clinic, plantar fasciitis, hip bursitis, multiple complexities. It's more orthopedic type pain, connective tissue type pain. While I do believe it's more of a chemical problem for them, I do believe it's lifestyle, it's nutrition, it's physiologic changes in their body that's happening. I also believe that there's benefit to certain modalities, and this has a pretty decent track record behind it, even if we don't understand how it works. They'll say we do.
Right.
I'm going to say we don't.
Right.
But even if I don't, if I can get the outcome. So
Right.
that's the client that I'm looking to reach, is the person that the surgeon says, you're not a surgical candidate. The medications didn't work. The prednisone made them feel better, but then it wore off and it's gone.
Right.
They tried therapy. They tried chiropractic. They tried massage. They've tried all the other interventions. Nothing else has helped. And there is no shockwave therapy in my area between Cincinnati and Dayton.
Got it. Okay. Next question is going to be great. So you've outlined who they are and what problems they have and where your solution overlaps their problems. I call that the shared why. Lay out their hopes, dreams, and problems, lay out your solutions. You realized exercise and education doesn't help this group, but this modality could. We're not going to discuss the science of it, but it could. Great. How are you going to get them? How are you going to market this? How are you going to reach them? Where are you going to reach them? What are you going to say when you get to that place?
And that's where I think the biggest impact on choosing Softwave as the company.
Okay.
I
Why?
chose them because, one, I got a chance to watch some of the other physical therapists that are using their device, and it just blew me away. Like, these are therapists that I genuinely respect. They shared messages that resonated with me. They said words that I would say. That was level number one. Level number two is, I know I've got Joey and the Rehab CEO team in my back pocket because they're working with Softwave. So while I might not be great at getting the word out, they're going to come in, and we've already started this process, and they're going to help me run the Facebook ads, the Google ads. They're going to help me attract a new population of my business that I wasn't attracting before, because typically I only treat patients who are coming if insurance will pay. Once insurance stops paying, they're done. They don't want my solution anymore. So I need to attract a new population of patients who are willing to pay. And when I get on the phone with clients like this, I just talked to someone in the New York area about a week ago. He said, quote, "I don't even care. I'll spend $3,000 if it means I'm going to get my knee range of motion back."
Yeah.
He was talking about a specific machine that he wanted to rent for a month to mobilize his knee. He had no problem spending $3,000 because he felt it would improve his outcome.
So you said some important things. I want to know this thing that you said you heard from other therapists.
Mhm.
How did you hear? Was this like Google? Was this Google reviews? Is this videos? Is this people you talked to? Like, how'd you get those? How'd you get those stories?
So the first thing I do is I do start Googling. I go to Facebook and YouTube video. I love video over text. So I start watching videos and I'm like, ooh, this is kind of cringy. I don't know. This isn't the world I want to get into. But then what happened was I got on a call with the team at Softwave, and they sent me links from Vimeo videos that weren't publicly available. And these were therapists. You and I had talked about it on PT Breakfast Club. These were therapists working with professional athletes. These are therapists working with UFC fighters, with Olympic athletes. And these were therapists that weren't selling the device. They had no vested interest. They were genuinely talking from an experience perspective. And again, they were approaching it from a very realistic approach. And it just, I totally resonated with that message. That was really what pushed me over the edge and blew me away with the fact that I don't know why those videos aren't everywhere,
Well, that was
because the ones that I do see, I don't like.
yeah. Those were the lean in. I was like, why are you hiding those things? Right.
Yeah.
But that's a different discussion. Right. So
Yeah.
now let's get into this. Okay. So you have, or at least want to work with the patient population that this helps to help. Right. And you understand that you have to go find them and market them. But let's talk about internal, because every time someone pitches something, and we saw it at PPS, which is change over to our EMR. And what is a major reason people don't switch EMRs has nothing to do with the new EMR not looking better. It's that process of like,
Yeah.
how do I do this? Is this actually, are you going to do what I actually think, what you're actually telling me you're going to do? Is this going to save me all those times? Or is this just lipstick on a pig? So a lot of these, and I'm learning this, a lot of these organizations realize this, and they have a project manager, and it's more of an implementation plan, which is, okay, you've switched over, it's day 0. Where do I go first? Because I already had 100% of my time booked. I just made this decision, and now I have a new job of IT implementation or technology implementation, because not only you need to understand how to clinically use it, you understand how to market it, you understand how to bill for it, or talk about it. You need other clinicians at either your site or other sites to know how to use this. And you got to get this thing that's like sort of magical, which is buy-in. Like, oh my gosh, now I'm in the buy-in business again. So I'm learning. There's a lot to implementation, but that makes sense. But the marketers of the world do a great job. Just click here and your problem's solved. I think if you go deeper and actually say, listen, clicking here is the first step into your solution, but implementation is next. How did you sort of wrap your head around, just because I bought this Softwave device doesn't mean my problems are solved. I'm closer to having them solved. How do they help you implement that? I feel like this is the part of the secret sauce.
It is. And that's why I wanted you and I to talk about this today,
Right.
was because it's very similar to when I hear Alex Hermosi say, sell the outcome, sell the dream, sell the destination, don't sell the airline flight, don't sell the TSA,
Right.
don't sell the seat. But the reality is, okay, I understand the dream of being on the beach in Maui, but I do have to get there.
Right.
And I do have to agree to the vehicle that gets
Right.
me there. So I'm like, all right, I want to go from Ohio to California. I could walk. Theoretically, with enough time and enough reserves, I could walk to California, but nobody wants to do that. That's me trying to sell exercise and, lifestyle interventions and all of these things. It will work, but it's not what the vehicle that people want to get to the destination. So part of it is, your question, how do I implement this every minute of every day, is booked. You're right. It is.
Right.
I think the secret like opportunity that nobody wants to talk about in PT is the fact that reimbursement continues to decline and is accelerating in that decline to the point where it is forcing our hand. 5 years ago, I could have dealt with a 2% reduction in Medicare, but now it's to the point where I literally can't do it anymore. Like my back is against the wall. I've got a sense of urgency. I need to make this happen. So I am going to remove things, intentionally remove things that aren't adding value from my life, from my schedule, and bring this in. Now, the team behind Softwave, they have a ton of chiropractors that are already using the equipment. So I've got opportunity to look at their ad copy. I've got their implementation guides. I've got the team at Softwave itself to help me find the protocols for the different treatment for plantar fasciitis and other things. It is that hand holding that normally I don't like. I like to do things myself, but I don't want to go slow. I want to go fast, and they're going to help me go fast. So the technology is the technology. I mean,
Right.
I would say it's commoditized at that price point. What I'm getting is their experience and their ability to bring me along the process so I don't have to figure it all out myself. Yeah, I could figure out how to run Facebook ads, but Joey's going to do it for me in,
Right.
a fraction of the time and more effective.
Okay, so what does their implementation plan look like? You sign on a dotted line. You now own this or lease this, and you're like, great. I need to start making sure this thing is paying for itself yesterday, but I've got to do all these different steps. So let's do this. What are the things that you need checked? What are the milestones? What are the boxes? Like, how do I educate staff? Right? How do I talk about this? How do I put it on my website so I'm being clear? Like, now you've just been given a set of problems, which is okay. But it sounds like Softwave's like, we saw you already. We've solved this with someone else. Here's the guide, or here's the phone number, or a mix, or a set of videos, as Tony would probably prefer, on how to do that. What's that implementation? What's that help to clear that chasm look and feel like?
So literally Monday, I signed on the dotted line. Like I actually signed
All
the
right.
contract. Um, Today, so what's today? Today's
Tuesday the
Wednesday,
22nd.
Tuesday. Okay. So today I did my onboarding where somebody's from Joey's team, a person named Sarah, came on, jumped on a Zoom with me. She literally walked me through, okay, we're going to connect your Facebook ad account. I need you to click there, click there, click there. We're connected. We're going to connect your Instagram account. I need you to click there, click there, click there. We're connected. So from the marketing perspective, we have a reactivation campaign because I've got thousands and thousands of patients that know, like, and trust me in my database. We've got a reactivation campaign that I know is going to put thousands of dollars in my bank account because these are people who already know me.
So right off the bat with Softwave, you've got Joey and his team at Rehab CEOs
Right.
sort of working in tandem because Softwave said, when you come with us, we know one of your problems is, and we don't want you to have buyer's remorse and talk about us 3 months from now. Like, I bought this thing and it didn't work. You're saying from day one, we are going to partner with experts. So, and again, just giving you a template on how to run an ad is nice, but having someone else do it is terribly valuable. Oh, got
Right.
it. So you get that with that. Okay, good.
Right. So we're running the pre-launch campaign starting today. Like today, they connected all of the accounts. They got me a Go High Level account. They got me connected so that text messages and voicemails come in through the Go High Level account, which I've never used Slack. I've never used Go High Level.
Yeah.
They blew me away with the way they had everything. And you said something really funny just now. You don't know it, but I've got a post waiting to publish in my Facebook group saying buyer's remorse is real. We
Yeah.
all feel it. And if you're not figuring out how to manage it, you're gonna lose people because
You're going to get stung.
yeah, I go through it. Like you sign a check for high 5 figures, almost 6 figures. You better believe you're freaking out on the other end. And all you want to do is say, no, I made a mistake and take that money back. But you also know you have to do this. You have to push forward. You have to get through that discomfort.
So it sounds like, hold on, let me put emotion to this. In the beginning of this integration, it feels like your excitement is high, but
Yes.
also your anxiety is like, okay, how's this going to go? Don't let that get to the 1, 2, 3 month mark. Start hitting it with resources on the first day. And I feel
Yes.
like a partnership with like someone who's going to bring you patients is a layup.
Yeah. Yeah. You need it. So we've got that started today. You know, I signed the paperwork yesterday. That started today. The education and the onboarding, they're going to be sending a human to my clinic to actually be involved with the first couple interventions and treatments that I'm delivering. This is another physical therapist who has it, and this person uses it in their practice. They're like a local rep that they're going to be coming to my clinic and doing it with me. You know, this is the difference between a white glove service and a do-it-yourself service. And when we were on PT Breakfast Club the other day, somebody was like, well, I see Shockwave for, you know, $1,000 on Amazon.
Right.
You do, but you don't get this side of
Right.
it.
Right.
And I really do believe that I can get this to 2.5 or 250,000 a year pretty easily. In my estimate's about 16 to 20 hours a week for a single person to generate 250,000 a year. Um, that's where I want to go, and I want to go there fast. And so I am willing to pay for the white glove experience to get these people on the team, to get them to drag me if they need to, kicking and screaming to a successful position. And you know I couldn't do it without them because my excitement is high. My anxiety starts low, then my anxiety goes high, and my excitement comes down.
We've been
And
there.
so you need that person to kind of balance those two waves into a smooth, accelerating slope.
Yeah. What you don't want to do is sign the dotted line and then 3 months later be like, I see money leaving the bank account, but money isn't coming back in the bank account. I made a mistake. You get that cold sweat and you're like, how do I pull the plug on this? And
And I've
as
done
the
it.
organization providing the service technology, it's like you really can't in 2024 provide a tangible thing unless you provide the service that goes with it. Because if it sucks, unless you're growing new people somewhere in a lab, you're going to run out of people to either have an opportunity to excite or you've already pissed them off. So you've got it. Like, this is like relationship building, which is how do we succeed if you partner with us?
And I think that's what we're buying into, so like Biodex Rehab. Andy from Biodex Rehab is coming to my clinic a week from today. We're going to spend Tuesday and Wednesday together in my clinic. We're going to create content. We're going to do a ton of education. Like, I've got the harness installed. I've got the treadmill going. I've got patients that are using the equipment, but he's going to help me to accelerate the cash side of that balance. And I think I'm calling it a stride right program for either patients who have had a knee replacement and they're not walking as well as they need to, or patients who are dealing with neuropathy and other things that are affecting their gait. I want to build a cash program for the Biodex Rehab Reactive Step Trainer. I'm bringing in the Shockwave Therapy from Softwave. There's a couple other tools that I'm looking at bringing in. If I could do vestibular, I'd bring in the headset from Vestibular First. I'd have somebody either remote in or
Right.
on site. These are the things that are going to make a sustainable practice into the next 20, 30, 40 years. But I can't just keep complaining about declining reimbursement
Are you
and not
sure?
doing something.
Are you sure? It feels really productive. It
I
feels good
can.
when people write these long-winded posts and they blame Medicare or they blame the APTA and they get a handful of nowhere. So great. The funny part is the people that are out there like trying to figure out solutions, they're not in the Facebook group. They're not doing those complaints. All right. So this is good information, right? Because right now I think a lot of organizations might skip on this. And I think without people consciously looking for this, they're either consciously like they've done this before and they're like, where did I fail? Or where what wasn't there that I wish was? I bought the $1,200 unit online and then it didn't go anywhere. And was it the technology? Was it it was the other intangible things. I love this. What else in terms of implementation are you glad to see or glad that's there because you feel like it's going to help make sure that you succeed and then that organization succeeds as well?
Now, I will say I've got an advantage. I've got a 57,000 subscriber YouTube channel for people who have had knee replacements. I've got a 10,000 YouTube subscriber for therapists who are looking to get into private practice. I've got Facebook groups. I've got media where
Right.
I can connect with audiences that would benefit from this information. So my rollout, and I think I've already said this, is let's say I've got 10 to 20 people in my immediate clinic right now. They're either doing, they've been a wellness member in my clinic for a decade, or they're friends of mine. My wife's dealing with some shoulder stuff for the last 2.5 years. I've got people I can create video content with today that have a genuine need. I've got the skills and the assets to create the video content and share it. So I can say, look, I'll do this treatment for free, but you sign the release so that I can share this content, and I'm going to monetize it on other platforms. I'm still going to make money. So there's that aspect of it where I know that I do have that advantage that other therapists might not have yet. Hopefully they build it. When I look at the actual finances, this is what I play around with a lot. I'm thinking of a different pricing model. I don't want to sell sessions.
Okay.
I want to sell. This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking if the average consumer is going to have, some people get better in one treatment, some people get better in 3, some people get better in 6. If I say, well, I'm going to do 5, but I'm not going to sell 5 treatments. I'm going to say it's a $500 protocol. You can receive up to 6 treatments, but a lot of our patients get better with 1 or 3 treatments, so that I can sell the perceived value of 6 treatments for $500. But I'm expecting most of these people to get better in 1, 2, or 3 treatments. I've obviously got, and if you want to talk about this, layers on this. So like layer number 1 is I've got a shiny object that I can promote that will bring people into my ecosystem. I can bill for the evaluation. Here in Ohio, typical Medicare evaluation reimburses $98. I'm going to always do some level of education for exercise, some level of education on, mechanics and things like that. So I'm probably going to have the opportunity sell a $500 package, which that package could be 1 session up to 6 sessions, but it's going to be whatever you need until you get better up to 6 sessions. $500 for that, $98 for the eval, another $30 for the intervention of exercise, $30 for the activity, about $140 for the RTM. In one acute episode, I should be generating $300-$400. Even if I don't sell the package, if I sell the package, I'm going to be up around $800. And when I look at the actual treatments, it seems pretty consistent, about a 10-minute treatment for the shockwave therapy. Let's say I block 20 minutes of time, 3 an hour. When I run the numbers, I put a Facebook post up the other day, 3 times 16. So it would be 3 sessions an hour, 16 hours a week. You do the math on that. You put in the money, $500 per protocol. If I sell 500 of them or something? I don't know. I don't do public math. I was coming out to somebody working about 16 hours a week, generating $250,000 in revenue. I've got my costs covered. I've got that person, and I'm saying person intentionally because it doesn't have to be a PT.
Right.
PT does the evaluation, but it could be a PTA, could be an LMT, could be a personal trainer, could be so many other individuals that could deliver the actual intervention, because it's a technician who delivers the intervention. Doesn't have to be a therapist.
Right.
This is where I'm looking. And then I say, well, shoot, if I can do this in 16 to 20 hours a week, what if I have one in my clinic and then I take that one and I go, 20 miles away, far enough that patients don't want to drive to me, but patients would go to the town next to me, and I put one in that clinic, and then I put one in a third clinic, and now I have, even the same device. I go Monday and Tuesday here, Wednesday, Thursday there, Friday, Saturday there, and I'm monetizing that for $750,000 a year, one machine, just running on continuity like that.
Did they give you those ideas, or were those yours?
Those are mine. Those are mine.
Which is, how do I leverage this, and how do I make that machine not sit still? And if it's not running, like if you're not using it, it's costing you money versus making you money.
Exactly.
And buying it is not the end. Like I'm very, and I think most people who sell something, you might sell that in the marketing, but then when you get in there, if you can deliver we're going to help me help you. So now vestibular first is a little different, because it's diagnostic. We can play around with like numbers, right? And again, PTs have the Peace Corps gene. But I think this is a patient population that doesn't really know anything about their condition, right? They just know they're dizzy. And we're building something in private right now that will be public in terms of like very top, I won't just say top of funnel, but I'll say like very much Candyland, like Chutes and Ladders, like top of funnel, right to the bottom of the funnel very quickly. But this is something that is a diagnostic tool. So it's a little bit different where the patient's not going to ask for it. They'll ask for your solution. And right now, you're either have infrared goggles, you have Frenzel lenses, which are like,
Yeah.
we've seen that guy, right, with like just Coke bottle bottom glasses on the bottom, or nothing, or you're using your naked eye. And this is not my opinion, but you miss 66% of what you need to see if you don't have it. So it's a diagnostic tool, so it's a little bit different. So we try to explain that the difference is you can market to these people. If you're saying you provide vestibular care and you're not using goggles, number one, I use the line like, it's like saying you're a cardiologist and not having a stethoscope. It's 2024. If you're not doing it, if you're still using Frenzel lenses of a naked eye, are you actually really providing vestibular care, right? So that's touching an emotion. I needed to create a villain, and I think I'll start there. But if I'm talking to the clinic owner or a chain or a hospital system, the idea there is great. We've bought technology before. We've had it. And did it make us anything? I don't really know. There needs to be an implementation plan where we're not selling goggles. We're selling a route to treat these people, that you treat these people better, bring them back more often, and become a referral source, ... to make you more money, right? So I don't know if people will pay more. I don't think if my cardiologist said, I'm going to use this stethoscope or this stethoscope, which one do you want? I'm like, I don't know, doc, like give me the bet. Like, so you can't necessarily bill for it, but it should be 2024, it should be the basement of what someone who calls themselves a vestibular therapist is using. And what I've seen in talking to chains or large organizations is it's not the cost of the unit, and they don't disagree with me on the science. Like the clinicians want it, and we know you're not just selling something that doesn't have a solution. Right now, what I've run into in my first 90 days, it's that implementation. What do I do with the day after I get the goggles? How do I implement this? And I feel like I need to ask myself, am I in this business? Do we just give them a PDF? Do we give them a series of videos? Or do I fly there and say, I'll fly there for your first 3 days. You give me your vestibular people in a room. I walk you from zero to fully running this program. I'm not sure which would you want?
I think this is where the quote, you do things that don't scale, comes in.
Right.
Like you have to do the things that don't scale, at least in the beginning. And what's special about you is you can record the experience, you can create the content while you're doing the things that don't scale. So like when we brought HippoScribe in-house, and we were like, okay, AI scribe, how does it work? What do I do? This is a brand new technology. Like nobody knows what to do with it. You're going to have your early adopters that will figure it out. And usually that's me. And I'm the one with HippoScribe. I created my templates. I work through different things. I've shared videos on how I record one side of the conversation and it'll generate the evaluation, like it does amazing things, but I had to do the heavy lifting to figure that all out.
And you're 15%.
Say again?
You're the early adopting 15%.
Right. Now, I can do things that don't scale by going in, and if somebody signs up for HippoScribe, I could literally join them, watch virtually through their evaluation in real time or afterward, and we can show them how the software and the platform works. But I couldn't do that for 1,000 people, but I can do that for the first 10 or 20 or 30. So for you, for vestibular first, I still say like it's a no-brainer. If I was a therapist and I was in that world at all, I would sell direct to consumer, a $250 objective assessment that paid for by the patient to provide the therapist, whoever the treating therapist is, even if it's not my patient. I would just go around doing assessments all day long.
So
and I'd be selling them.
You'd be the goggle guy.
I would have the goggles. I'd be the diagnostician. I'd go out there. I'd record all the information. Either I would do the evaluation and provide that to another treating therapist, or I would just do all of the testing and recording and let the other therapist do, just like an MRI. You go to the MRI and there's an offsite radiologist who's going to read the report and all of that. I think it justifies medical necessity. I think it gives you support. So if you're going to treat a patient for 36, 54 visits, you have objective measures and information that support that level and depth of care. That's what I would be doing. But
Yeah.
but to your point, yeah, I do think you need a little bit of that hand holding until you reach critical mass. And there are so many people using it, so many people doing it, putting out content that new onboarding people can see what other people are already doing.
We need to put ourselves in their shoes. Hey, Jimmy, I want to buy 10 of these. Explain to me what I'm going to do on day 2 after I've signed my dotted line when I've just dropped 25 grand. What else do I get that? What else do I get with that? Can you explain to me how I'm going to pay for this so I don't have to do the math myself?
And truthfully, I mean, now the way things are, we always say like I would never start a new business if I didn't have sales already happening before
Right.
that business even launched. We know when when I'm going to pitch a new course, I'll sell the course before I create the course
Right.
just
You
to
got to
make
sell
sure that there's actual demand for the course. When I'm looking at Shockwave, I want to be booking appointments and selling appointments before I even have the device to provide me with that proof of concept. I think it could be done. I mean, with Facebook, you can sell a session before the session is delivered. That's a normal thing. And so I think we can bring that speed to implementation, put a couple $1,000s in the bank account. That really helps to overcome buyer's remorse. And it gives you confidence to say, hey, this is real. This is really happening.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it's number one, it's just so it shows the importance of like listening to your actual audience. Don't assume you know what problems they're actually having. For me,
No.
the first thing was like, wow, $2,600. How am I was gonna write a template letter. Like, here's how a clinician can bring this to their boss to show them how. And like most of the time, it's like, I can spend $2,500. Like, that's in my budget. My boss's question is next is how am I making that? How are you setting this up? Can you bill for it? It's like answer all those objections, and people are smart people at organizations who are going to spend money that they have to answer for are going to answer their next 10 objections, and not just answer it. Here's how I help you solve it. Not you're on your own. How much of this, but like you said, it's the variation between the rollout plan from place to place isn't going to vary a lot. It's not, it's implementation with humans.
Right. Right. And I think it was Hermosi or somebody, I just heard them say, it only becomes an objection if you don't address it before it starts to become a problem. So like when
Yeah.
somebody says, can I bill for it? You know, to me, the second I hear somebody, even the product company saying something about billing, I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't want a CPT code. I don't want the insurance to cover this, because as soon as the insurance covers this, I lose all of my value and all of my profitability. I want this to be something the patient so desperately wants that the patient is begging me to deliver this service, and they'll throw any money I ask because they know that it's that value to them.
But
You know, and
do you think that still holds water with a diagnostic tool? Because like again,
yes,
like I don't think someone cares like if they use a goggles or if they don't know the difference between stethoscopes.
let me tell you why. And
Okay.
so like when I'm talking to Doug from Run DNA, you know, it's like, all right, do I want to invest in that equipment? When therapists will say, look, I can see the hips dropping and this deficit and the knees valgus and, you know, overpronating. Yes, you can see that stuff. But especially when it comes to vestibular, if I want objective measures to support the case that this person needs more therapy than the guy down the road, I need some sort of black and white test, first of all. I've got patients every week that will pay out of pocket for MRIs just because they believe the value of the imaging is, you know, there, and they want peace of mind. They will pay $1,000 for that just to get that image, even if their insurance won't cover it. So what you're doing is, and this goes back to the framing of what is the real problem. The real problem for a lot of patients, they think people don't believe them. So
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
going to show
You can
me
show
a
them.
test and I can see my eyes darting back and forth in these goggles, that's going to prove to my husband that I'm not just making it up, that I really am experiencing an objective problem. You deliver that kind of peace of mind to them, they will pay for that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it needs to be. It's not about better assessment, even if it is better. It's about we're giving them something objective that they can see. We can put it in their hand. They can feel it. They can see it. They can hear it. Like those are the things that they want.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I keep playing the other side of this, and I think the Peace Corps gene keeps coming in. We can't charge people more for a better thing, can't you? If you sent your grandmother who had an issue to a therapist, you'd want them to have this, right? Like you would value them over a therapist who didn't. Well, if that's valuable, then someone would pay for that because it would save them time and effort and pain and uncertainty. You'd pay for that now. My dad's got a rash right now. He would light his best friend on fire right now to get rid of that. And that's what I've heard from people. I've never had a vestibular disorder, but if you do, you would cut off a finger to get rid of that when it reaches a certain level because it takes over your life. So someone's saying there's this tool that we had to pay for and learn how to use. And by the way, I had to get a doctoral degree to be able to do this evaluation. So there's some other costs in this. You get all the way to the end and you use Frenzel lenses, or you get all the way to the end and you buy the goggles, but you don't charge people for your expertise. So are you charging people for the expertise? Are you charging people for a stethoscope? Or are you charging people for a cardiologist who's using the latest technology that a cardiologist should be using? And in the end, when my dentist says, do you want the fluoride? I just kind of go, what do you think I need? And are they selling me too much? Maybe, but that's what I'm paying you for. Tell me what I need.
And, again, I keep referencing Doug, but talking to Doug, he was like, look, other professionals are not dummying down their profession. Nobody's going back to farming with, horse and plow.
Right.
Like when new technology comes out, you adopt that new technology. Even if you believe deep in your heart, I don't need it. There's still value in the experience. There's still value in the white tablecloths and the heavy silverware when you're going to bring out this amazing steak. It doesn't replace your knowledge. It doesn't replace your skill and your experience. It enhances it and it makes it a better overall experience.
I doubled down on that post that I had on LinkedIn. It's one of my best performing posts of last month. I said, I think neurologic physical therapy is the biggest area for growth because it's been so homogenized. Everything is like the same. So I love when stuff's the same. It's like, because I need to be 5% different in actuality to look 50% different, right? I started a podcast when no one else was podcasting. Look how innovative I was. But was I? I just did a thing, although that does take risk, right? Like it didn't cost me a lot. It cost me a little bit, it cost me time. So doing this, you're going to reap more reward. And again, the investment is $2,500. I'm not saying it's nothing, but it is more than $2,500. It's $2,500 plus the time it takes you to implement it. And you hope that's going to pay out. I hope it's going to pay out. So I need to develop a plan that's going to do that for clinics to mitigate that risk.
And let's do parting shots right here, even for this kind of episode. I'm going to say, I am I hate to call myself cheap. It's not that I'm cheap. I don't mind spending money, but most of the time I don't feel like it's worth spending the money on what I'm spending the money on. But that being said, whether it's $2,500 or $80,000, when I'm looking at this, you have to see the big picture. You have to look at this as, okay, this is something that I'm going to use for a year, 5 years, 10 years. This is something that's going to generate income. And one of the things I talked to my patient this morning about it, I said, even though I struggle with, is this real? Is it placebo? Am I, spending this money on something that, why do we have this tendency to say, well, I could get it for $1,200 on Amazon. Why would I pay $80,000 for a different machine? The secret behind that is you feel dumb. I feel dumb. I feel like somebody is going to call me dumb for spending that much money when I could have gotten it for this much money. But at the end of the day, I need to overcome those insecurities. And I need to look at this and say, you know what? Spending that kind of money brings the white glove service, increases my chances of success. And when I'm really looking at this, I have an opportunity to generate $250,000 in a year. I'm risking $80,000, and I still have a physical device that, worst case scenario, because we love worst case, I could always resell. Even if I lose a little bit of money on it, I could always resell. But this is a device that will continue to put money in my pocket. It's not like I'm spending this money on alcohol and gambling and cigarettes. So
Yeah.
like I really think the insecurity of feeling stupid, feeling like you were tricked, feeling like you were taken advantage of is what holds so many of us back from making these kinds of decisions. And once we acknowledge and recognize that, we can get past that and look at, hey, this is actually a reasonable decision.
Yeah. My parting shot would be, in my first 90 days with Vestibular First, I started making sure I was solving the problem that was actually a problem. Right. So I had a predecessor, kind of. There was really nobody in this role before me specifically. And I did what everybody did, which was I want to get in and make sure my calendar's full, and I want to make sure I'm doing and I'm always busy. And then I stopped myself about 2 weeks in and said, I want to make sure I'm actually solving the right problems. So I started asking people really sophisticated questions like, what's your problem? What problems do you have? Like really sophisticated, basic questions. Like, don't overestimate asking someone like, what's your biggest hesitation here? Like looking someone in the eye and asking them an honest question. I'm telling you, I appreciate it when people do it. But we sometimes like to get sophisticated. Gary Vee will say all the time, don't get fancy. Like when you get fancy, you get detached. So I looked at people yesterday who are my real part of the real group that I'm trying to solve problems for at Vestibular First, because I have clinicians, clinic directors, maybe regional directors, VPs of whatever, and they're all going to have different views of the same image, right? It's that great image of Prince William with the middle finger, but from the side, he's doing whatever. It looks like he's flipping the bird, but he's not. They're all looking at the same thing differently. And I'm like, oh, our product actually solves all those things, but I got to make sure I tell you. Knowing it and doing it is nice. Communicating it, that's the next step. So that's a long way of saying understand what problems your audience or audiences are actually having, and then work backwards to go, we can solve that. Oh, you know what? We don't have a resource. Let me create that, but it could be solved. And that's what we're doing now.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I can take off the outro. There it is.